All right, and good evening, everybody, and welcome to Train World TV. We have a very special action-packed episode tonight. It is the Lionel 2022 catalog flip through, as we have been doing annually for quite a while now, Ryan, correct?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's quite
it's been a few years ago. I look at those highlights at the beginning of the thing, and I go by the number of gray hairs in the beard, and it tells me how long we've been doing this. So it's been a
so
few years.
Yeah, and so we have a great night tonight. Basically, if you haven't seen one of these episodes before, basically Ryan and also Dave is joining us tonight, both from Lionel, and we go over the Lionel brand new catalog that was just announced maybe last week. And we flip through the catalog, we answer some questions, we go through what's hot, what's exciting, what's new, because whenever these magazines and books come out, everybody is posting there's a frenzy out there on social media. Now you see all these social media YouTubers, vloggers. It's insane, the publicity that Lionel catalog creates and the buzz. It's very exciting, Ryan and Dave, and so we're totally amped up for tonight's episode. So keep watching, I guess, for tonight. But we do want to invite you for more shows. So sign up for our email sales, subscribe to our YouTube channel, like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, and sign up for trainworldtext.com for all the good stuff and latest and greatest. So Ryan and Dave, not sure if you want to introduce yourselves with your exact titles, and just in case anyone new is watching. So I'll leave that up to you guys.
Sure. For those who haven't seen me here with Ken before, my name's Ryan Kunkle. I'm the Director of Project Management for Lionel, and that basically entails oversight over the entire Trains product line, either directly or through our team of project managers, some of whom you'll also see on here from time to time, who all do a great job of coming up with and then seeing through the development and delivery of all of this great product. And catalog releases are for us a big time of the year, just because it's like anyone's big senior thesis or other big project. You work on these things for months and months and months, and then you finally get to unveil it onto the world and see what people think. So it's a lot of fun for us, and we appreciate being here and have as much fun as you all do watching it at home and giving us feedback. And I'll turn it over to the man who makes all the magic really happen, is Dave.
And I'm Dave Olson, Lionel's Director of Engineering, which basically entails pulling my hair out, making everything work that Ryan comes up with.
Very cool. And we actually have a very special guest who's just joining us.
Hey, Ken.
There he is.
Hello, guys. I'm late again. I got kicked out of the office. I said I had to go on at home.
Yes.
But thank you very much, guys, for joining us. I'm the only one that don't have hair on my face here. What's going on? Huh?
You're the youngest.
Yeah.
There you go.
And for everyone, we have people joining in from all over Oregon, Jacksonville, Florida. Thank you very much. So put it in the chat where you're from tonight. We appreciate you for joining. But we are going to start to kick it off, because we're already seeing a ton of questions, and especially around this new base 3. So we got a lot of stuff to cover. So let's kick it off, and I'm going to share my screen here. And so if you haven't seen the new catalog, here it is. And this is the home page. All right, so off to the, I guess the little difficulties here. Let's see if I could expand it. Maybe not, but all right. So Dave, I guess this is your baby.
Yeah, so this is the Base 3 and Cab 3 app. This is our new control system for all Lionel trains, what we unveiled last week during our catalog launch. And if you go on to our website and look at our catalog, you can also watch the videos that we included with the announcement for the Base 3 and Cab 3. They are embedded in the catalog as well as available on our YouTube page. So in those videos, I give more information on what the Cab 3 and the Base 3 are for. But if you have any questions while we talk through here, go ahead and enter them in the chat window, and we'll do our best to keep up with questions and answer anything you can think of. But let me talk a little bit about what the Base 3 and Cab 3 app are all about. For those familiar with Lionel trains going back through the early 90s, we came out with TMCC around 1994, which allowed wireless control of our trains anywhere from around your layout instead of having to stand at the transformer, adjusting the handles and pressing the buttons. And then that was given a huge update that most people are familiar with in 2006 to the legacy Cab 2 and Base 2 system. And this is now the third iteration of TMCC and command control in Lionel trains. The Base 3 doesn't handle only legacy and TMCC engines, but all of our Lion Chief and Flyer Chief lines as well. So this really is a command base that brings all Lionel command engines together and controllable from a single remote. And aside from the Cab 3 app, your other remote options are, if you have an existing Cab 2 already, and also the Cab 1L remote, which we will continue to produce as well. Ken, if you want to go to the next page in the catalog, that's where it shows the Cab 1L remote. And this page in the catalog is kind of where it gets more into the technical details of the Base 3. Obviously, one spread is not enough to go through all of the details of the Base 3, and we will be creating a dedicated web page for the Base 3 and Cab 3 app, and that'll launch closer to when the Base 3 ships later this year. And that will be basically an entire instruction booklet manual that you can reference while you're using the Base 3. And then the Cab 3 app is not our first venture into the app space. Ken, if you want to go to the next page again, so I can talk about the Cab 3 app. We actually have had lots of experience with apps the past few years. Our first was the iCab app, which was available to run legacy engines using the Base 2 as well as the LCS Wi-Fi module. And really the one of the core features of the Base 3 is combining those two. So the Base 3 now includes that Wi-Fi module, so you don't have to have a separate LCS module. And the built-in Wi-Fi for the Base 3 is intended to operate directly with the Cab 3 app, so that you can control not only your legacy engines, but all the other types of engines that I spoke about just a minute ago. And then the other app that we came out with was Lion Chief back in 2017, and then we did the Android version about a year later. And the Lion Chief app is a direct pair app for Bluetooth. It does control all Bluetooth engines that Lionel has produced from 17 on, and that does not require a command base. So what we wanted to do here, specific for the Base 3, but also just to encompass all control into one app, was combine those two and give them a facelift and add additional features. So the Bluetooth mode of the app, which is on the left side of the page there on the catalog, this side of the app will be free to all users, and it does not require the Base 3. It will be direct communication to all Bluetooth engines. And an update or an improvement over the Lion Chief app is that instead of being able to run only one engine at a time, this mode of the app will be able to run up to 3 Bluetooth engines at a time. And you can cycle through those using the arrow keys on the screen that are by the engine image, and actually maintain multiple connections and the easy control that people enjoy on the Lion Chief side. And then the other major mode of the Cab 3 app is the command base side, which is on the right side of the page there. And this is the side of the app that interfaces with the command base, more specifically the base 3. And this is the one that allows control of all engines, legacy, TMCC, etc., all the way through Lion Chief. This is the one that interfaces with the database that's built into the base 3. So all of your saved engines and saved settings will be brought right into the app. And this app side of the app actually has a lot of functionality when it comes to interfacing with the base 3. There will be a Wi-Fi settings menu so that you can customize your Wi-Fi connection, whether you want the base 3 to have its own standalone Wi-Fi or to join your home network. That will be possible, and you'll be able to either use WPS, which is pushing the button and directly or adding on to the existing network, or configuring your own with an SSID and a password. This side also has other tools for configuring the Lion Chief engines, whether Bluetooth or RF that you add to your base 3. You'll be able to go in and edit that roster of Bluetooth or RF Lion Chief engines and view which ones are saved and edit them however you need to. Lastly, there will be system utilities specific for the base 3, such as updating the firmware. We have lots of fun ideas planned for the future with both base 3 and the cab 3 app, and I'm really excited that this platform gives us the base that we need to build upon this system for years to come. So the firmware will be updated directly through Wi-Fi using the cab 3 app. That will download it directly from our website, so no more having to connect the system to a PC and using the little modules that we've had to use in the past that you plug into the cab 2 and base 2 and downloading and updating it. It actually will be able to update the firmware in the base 3 in under 30 seconds. So it makes it nice and easy. So there's really a lot here, and I could probably keep talking you guys to sleep for 2 hours. But if there's questions, or Ryan, if there's anything you want to cover, I'm really excited about the system.
Well, I think it's a great system, and it's a big step forward. As you mentioned, this is really a new beginning, and you're seeing some of the great features that we're already starting to add to this. But what it is it really allows so many more possible additions to this systems down the road that we simply wouldn't have been able to do with the limits of the current TMCC legacy circuitry and base and cab. So definitely you're seeing the beginning of the next generation here. It's not an ending of one thing, but certainly a beginning of something more. And Dave and his team have worked very hard to drive backwards compatibility through all of this as we bring the older generations continue to come up and grow with it, so that if you've already invested in a legacy system, none of that really has to be thrown away. You can still use your cab 2, still use your cab 1L. Swapping the new base 3 for your previous base 1L or base 2 is as simple as undoing one wire and putting it on the new base, and then plugging this one in, and away you go. So for those who still want a traditional handheld cab option, you'll have either in the old cabs that will be out there available in the market for a long time, particularly in the secondary market, or the base or the cab 1L, which we have more of those in production right now, and they'll be delivering probably late spring, early summer this year. We'll be restocked on plenty of those. So we intend on keeping those cabs in the product lineup for quite some time to come. Or you can use your cell phone, your tablet. This is being configured to work with a lot of different types of devices, so that you'll be able to use the hardware you've already bought and paid for to continue to run your trains. And I think just the options that you've given people here with this, Dave, are really exciting, and very much looking forward to seeing where we can take this in the future, because I know I have a lot of ideas that you're going to want to say no to. So we'll find ways of making it happen.
Well, sure. The great thing is, Ryan, is that I have a lot of ideas too, and I can prioritize mine over yours.
Well, there's a lot to unravel. This is like breaking news, exciting. I think so far the pre-orders have been tremendous on this. Just everybody seems to want to get their hands on it. Dave and Ryan, if it's okay with you, if we could just rapid fire some questions, because it's a lot of information to digest. So maybe by shooting off some questions, it may be easier to I guess take in.
Yeah, absolutely. We've seen a bunch flying by.
Yeah.
I've seen a couple. I can go ahead and start answering some. For example, I've seen a lot of comments, not just on here, but in the past week or so, such as Rick's about, I love my cab too, and I'm not ready to relinquish it. And the great thing is you don't have to relinquish it. Actually, we encourage you to use your cab 2 remote with the base 3. With the base 3 and the cab 2 remote, you can use your cab 2 now to control Lion Chief Plus, Flyer Chief, and even HO engines that Lionel produces. So yeah, we're definitely not asking you to throw your cab 2 remote in the trash. Use it with the new base 3. It's definitely fully fully meant to be operated with the base 3. So another one is, will the base 3 be compatible, I see, with the MTH DCS system? The answer is that you can interface the base 3. You have to use the LCS SER2 and use the DB9 connector, which is the same similar way that the base 2 now connects to the MTH system as well. Do you see any other base 3 specific questions?
We get asked a lot about running conventional with a base 3, Dave.
Yep.
And
Right. Yep.
definitely something that can be done. You want to explain what you need to do there with that? And another one that's coming up a lot is used with the original TMCC base 1 cab 1.
Yep. So let me start with the first one on running conventional trains. The base 3 will be capable of operating any of our command control transformers. So you're talking the ZWL, which has everything built in one, or you can use the legacy Power Masters. We have both the 180 watt version and the 360 watt version that interface with like the Powerhouse 180 transformers. And the base 3 will be able to control any of those to control the track power going to your track for conventional engine control. So,
and does that include old, like post-war stuff, or is that?
Really? Yep. If you have a command control transformer and a base 3, you can control any engine we've ever made, really. So. And then your other question, or the other one that I've seen come up, is the compatibility using the old cab 1 and base 1. And that is similar to my answer for the DCS remote, in that you will use the LCS SER2 and then the DB9 cable to connect to the original base 1 to use the remote there. It might require an adapter. We're still working on that, but more information about that will be on the base 3's website in the coming months. But it is certainly a goal of ours to include compatibility with the cab 1 remote in that regard.
Mm-hmm. Dave, I got a question.
Yes, sir.
Can guys use the old power sources with this, like post-war transformers? Because they got the old style circuit breakers and they're not that sensitive.
Yeah, this guy just plugs in directly to the track ground, the outside rails, the same as the base 2. That actually has the same binding post type mechanism where it's just one wire to the outside rails. And then what I'd like to tell anybody, base 3 aside, with the base 2, base 1L, whatever, if you're using a post-war transformer, just make sure you have some kind of circuit protection in there to protect the modern electronics from the older transformers, because the older transformers and their breakers, they're not as quick and reliable as modern transformers. So TVS diodes or whatever else you want to put in line with the power output of those transformers are good to protect the modern electronics.
Yeah, I hear you. I usually tell people in the store, just new trains, new transformers, old trains, old transformers is fine. Yeah.
Yep. And Kevin, the base 3 firmware, I said a little earlier, but the Cab 3 app will be able to update the firmware on the base 3, and we will update the firmware over time as we come out with additional features and other fun stuff that we have planned. That we already have a list of things we want to do, and it will just be a fun time for us to invent new ways to run your trains and operate and have fun, right?
Any updates for the Cab 2 to work with the Base 3?
That's actually a good question. So we released the Cab 2 1.70 update. I want to say that was November. We released that back in November. And the reasons for that update were posted on the service website. One of the reasons that was not listed was updated compatibility for the Base 3. So I do recommend updating your Cab 2 remote to 1.70 for Base 3 compatibility. It'll still work with the older versions, but we added some features to the Cab 2 in 1.70 specifically for the Base 3.
Awesome.
And then that'll be the last Cab 2 update you'll have to do, correct, Dave?
Planned, unless something were to happen. That is the last planned Cab 2 update.
And Dean, you're asking about price and is it able to order? We are taking pre-orders right now. And if you go to trainworld.com, the item number is 220-8010. 220-8010. So we are taking pre-orders on that as we speak.
Actually, we took a lot of pre-orders on that already. That was like the best-selling thing in the catalog so far.
That's good to hear. That's good. I mean, like Ryan said, we've actually spent the past 3 years working on this, so it means a lot to us that people are already gravitating towards it.
Yeah. One other question has come up a bunch. Can you run non-Lionel engines with it? And Dave, I'll let you elaborate, but really it depends on which non-Lionel engines you're talking about and what other systems you may have.
Yeah, if you're talking about TMCC-equipped engines, such as Third Rail or Atlas engines that have TMCC, the answer is yes. The Base 3 will operate anything with TMCC. If you're talking about the MTH system, that is where you would need the MTH system connected to a LCS SER2 connected to the Base 3. So it can't directly control MTH engines, but if you have the MTH system, you can connect the two systems in that manner.
Mm-hmm. Do you need a PowerMaster to run conventional engines on Cab 3?
Yeah, either a PowerMaster or a ZWL.
And then how could someone find out what version he's running on a Cab 2?
Yeah, so if you turn your Cab 2 on, you just press, when you turn your Cab 2 on, you press the info button, and it'll say version 1.5 or 1.6, whatever it says. So if you want to figure it out, just push the info button on the top right of the remote. And if you want to update your remote, what you want to do is go onto the Lionel service website and type in legacy system utility, and that'll guide you through how to update the firmware in the Cab 2 remote.
All right. And Anthony wants to know, is there any possibility of a Cab 3 remote in the future, or will it only be for app and iPhones, iPads? That's a good question.
Also an excellent question. For now, our plan is an app only, and there's a reason for that. The world that we're now in kind of has gravitated towards smartphones and smart devices. So we're seeing less and less availability for components in classic remote style controllers. So you're not seeing older style push buttons or like the screens on the remotes. They're simply not being manufactured anymore because the gravitation has been towards touchscreen smart devices. So it's getting harder and harder to produce hardware remotes these days. And Lionel, or the model train industry in general, I think we can all agree is pretty small compared to other industries such as cell phone manufacturers. So whatever we would ever want to produce wouldn't tip the scales towards a board house running a million parts of something that we would never use, right? So we kind of always had to piggyback on other industries to source components to make things such as hardware remotes. So while we can't 100% rule out a Cab 3 hardware remote in the future, it would be a giant undertaking to be able to do so, and one that we're not planning on doing anytime soon.
Very good answer. Can he still run his TPCs?
Yeah, there's the TPCs, the TPC 300 and TPC 400. Those can also be run with the base 3. Again, going back to the LCS SER2. That is the DB9 interface for the LCS system. I feel like we're going to have to order some more SER2s, Ryan.
I think so.
Yep. Okay.
David, do you have the prototype there in front of me? One person did ask about the approximate footprint of this thing, and it is smaller than you think it's going to be. It's designed to fit nicely on a layout.
That was the goal. The goal was to kind of size it the same as the base 2, so that it could almost be a direct, drop-in replacement. I had to unplug the cables. I've been testing today, so I actually have the top unscrewed, and you can see all the circuit boards and my tape and the power wires and all that. But this is 3D printed prototype as we're cutting the tooling now, and it's fully functional. And we'll have this and another sample in our booth at the Springfield Mass Show here coming up the end of next week. If you want to stop by and actually, I'll show you everything in person, and if you can make the show.
Oh wow,
so,
very cool.
It's got flashy lights, which I know some people, like marketing guys, like flashy lights.
I tell you one thing or comment that I've been seeing on Instagram and the forums and YouTube is that the design is actually really appealing, and a lot of people are like, finally something I could proudly display or work it into my layout, and they just love the design and the sleek look. And so someone was like, I want that as a mattress. Kind of a life-size bed if they could.
Yeah, and the inspiration actually was from a bridge that you guys have probably seen in person many times, is the Hellgate Bridge there in New York City. As a lot of people may know, we have a lot of history with the Hellgate Bridge and producing one back before the pre-war times, and we've made other Hellgate bridges as well in the past. I designed this as a bridge, kind of as a nod to it being a bridge between the Legacy and Lion Chief system.
Oh, cool.
This originally was going to be kind of an LCS module, but it morphed into the all-new command base bridge. So I really just wanted it to kind of have that meaning. So the main control system still is Legacy, but we didn't want to call this the Legacy Base 3 because it commands everything else from TMCC to Lion Chief. But this is the Legacy system bridged over to Lion Chief. So that's kind of the appeal to the design. There's also nods or throwbacks to the Base 2 in some of the lighting. The Lionel lights at the end, which glow blue, they are a similar functionality to the Base 2. The orange L logo there on the front is also a nod to how one of the lights on the Base 2 works. The whole color scheme is gray and is actually going to be the same gray that the Base 2 is. So it really is meant to show just the next evolution in the product line without forgetting where we came from.
Very neat. And
does it build up any heat at all?
No, the power supply in there is pretty efficient. It may get warm to the touch on one side when you're asking it to run a lot of trains, but other than that, no, there's no loud cooling fans or anything about that.
Okay.
And I guess let's take maybe 2 or 4 more questions, and then we'll head to the catalog, because I think we could spend all day answering the same questions or similar questions, just rotating. So,
and maybe at some point later in the year too, if we continue to get a lot of questions, I'd be happy to have Dave come back on here and spend an hour or two with you, just exclusively talking about the Base 3.
Yeah, I think we may have to, because I know a lot of people, this is a pretty big topic and a lot of people are interested in it. And, we're taking tons of pre-orders on it. So I know the interest is out there. So I'm sure a lot of people want to learn more, or as they pre-order it, maybe they have more questions a little later on. So yeah, Ryan, that's a great idea. I appreciate that.
Yeah, kind of might be a good idea once we get some production samples, if I come and demo it in person, even if you wanted. So
That'd be great if we could. Let's twist Mike Phillips' arm out there and see if we could schedule you guys. We'd appreciate that.
it's mostly my attempt to get some New York pizza.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
Ryan, question. The
Yes.
first shipment of these are coming when? And is it a partial shipment or a full shipment?
I don't have exact dates at this point. As Dave mentioned, we're cutting the tooling now. We've got key parts on order for this. Production is expected this year, and delivery is expected towards the end of this year. Our goal, of course, would be for it to be a full shipment. But we all saw how things changed last year as the year went on. So here we are on the 20th of January, and I don't want to speak to what the world's going to look like even on the 20th of February at this point. But the plan is to have these all to you, enough of these to you to fill all these orders in time for the end of the year.
Okay, well, so I guess for all our customers out there, first come, first serve. Don't take a chance. I'm going to triple my order just in case, so I get as many as I can on the first load.
Yeah, and this is not something like, in a few minutes we're going to start looking at locomotives, legacy locomotives that are a build-to-order item. And if you don't get your order in for that this year, it's not going to be in the catalog in July or next January. The base 3, just like the base 2 and the cab 2 was around for a decade, this is going to be around for quite some time. So we absolutely want you to jump on board and get it and dive in. But if you're someone who's on the fence, we also, it's okay to say, I'm going to take my time and watch a few of Dave's videos, maybe see what happens at the next, see him at Springfield and ask some more questions. You've got plenty of time to add this to your layout and to come up to the next tier. It's not going to render all of your current technologies or trains obsolete when this hits the shelves. We didn't build any sort of kill switch into the old base 2s that they'll automatically die when this becomes available. So you don't have to worry about anything like that. We absolutely want you all to move this. We think it's a great system and a great improvement. But you have time to think about this one and know a lot about it and make a decision in confidence too.
And Dave, saw a couple of questions on the range. How does it compare to the previous range? Any, advice on that?
Sure, there's a few different ranges when it comes to the different radios that are in the base 3. When it comes to the TMCC legacy radio, it's the same radio that the base 2 has, so that range will be similar, 100 feet or so, which is enough for the majority, if not all, layouts. Especially if you center the base 3 in your layout, it kind of spreads the signal out over your layout room better that way. For the RF Lion Chief engines, RF itself has about an 80-foot range. And Bluetooth, that's one of the exciting updates that we've been doing in the past year. Our first update from Bluetooth Lite 4.0 to Bluetooth Lite 5.0 was done on our ready to run engines last year. And then in all of our legacy engines in the 21C2 catalog, we'll also be getting Bluetooth 5.0. And that increases the range from 20 feet all the way up to 100 feet. So it is a huge improvement. I know that people with Bluetooth 4.0 engines have said that the range is limiting at times. And we wanted to address that by upgrading to Bluetooth 5.0. And that is one thing that the base 3 will have.
Okay. Very, very cool. And just last question on this. I'm trying to read through. Some of them we already answered. Distance we got covered. Have you guys thought about offering a new simple charging cradle for the Cab 2 remote?
I don't think that's something we've talked about. Even personally, I've gotten rid of the charging batteries and the remotes. I just, replace them with Duracells or Energizer. They last pretty long that way. And that's just me personally speaking. Ryan, I don't know if you want to talk about that possible project. I'll leave it on you, but
maybe down the road. I don't think there's an immediate need. If you've got the 993 set, of course, that charger will continue to work with that. Some people have asked the question in the past, can they continue to use their base 2 as a charger only? And Dave, I'm not sure if it's not connected to the layout, if that's powered up, if it may create a signal conflict with the base 3. But certainly if you're charging your remote when you're not running trains, so after you shut down your layout and you put the remote on the cradle and charge it on that overnight, which I think a lot of people would do, you wouldn't have any issue using that as a continued charging base.
Yeah, exactly what Ryan said. If you're using the base 3 and you still have your base 2 plugged in and it's anywhere near the base 3 or the track, the signal can actually jump over even if the wire is not physically connected. So if you want to use your base 2 just for charging, I would recommend either putting it away from both the layout and the base 2 or the base 3, or using it only, powering it up only, like Ryan said, when the rest of the layout is shut down for the evening.
Okay. Good info.
Thank you.
And the base 3 will work with up to 10 cabs of any combination at a time. Someone had asked about using multiple. So that could be 10 apps on different phones or tablets. It could be 5 apps and 2 cab 2s and 3 cab 1Ls. You've got a lot of options, but it can take up to 10 inputs at a time.
All right. Thank you very much, Dave and Ryan, on that update. There's a lot of questions, so I'm really going to try to pencil in to bring back Dave, Ryan, and Lionel to do a special Cab 3, I guess, seminar 101 session once they get those production units. So stay tuned, and I appreciate the offer, Dave and Ryan, because a lot of interest in this, and I think a lot of people are going to really be switching over. So with that said, we'll switch over to Ryan's, I guess, segment on this and new trains, and I guess where we want to go from here.
Yeah, let's get rolling. Of course, we announced earlier the Vision Class A, and we've already had a lot of conversations about those, Ken, together, including on some of our previous broadcasts. So, in the interest of time tonight, I'm not going to go into too much detail on these. You can definitely go back and look at some of our other Train World programs. There's a video embedded on our website here where you can hear me talking more about the different detail sets and features for here as well. The one big feature for this we hadn't talked about before, and it ties right back into the base 3 cab 3 announcement, is that when using the cab 3 and the base 3, you'll be able to use 4-digit addressing on this locomotive, which of course harkens to more things that'll be able to come down the road. Right now, that's something we'll be doing on this and future Vision engines, but just like whistle steam, that's something that's going to trickle down into the entire line of Premier locomotives. And whether you're a person who has 1,000 locomotives or not, the convenience of 4-digit addressing over 2-digit addressing is really a bigger win than you might think, just because you don't have to remember, was it the first 2 digits of the number, the last 2 digits of the number, the middle 2 digits. If you have 2 engines that are, both share a last 2 digits, it gets confusing. So you change things up. It just makes life easier when your address is right there on the engine. So that's a new win. And then now in the catalog too, for the first time, you'll get to see all the different detail variations that we've put into the Class A. This is all new tooling. So it's a completely new design from the wheels up, so that we could get all the new features and different variations into this. We've got different styles of valve gear and rods, different pilots, different tenders, you name it. There's a whole lot of subtle features that change from one to the other on this, and we've really captured the whole gamut of the Class A's from the prototype unit onto the excursion years for the 1218. So no matter what your interest, we've got a Class A to fit it, and also a pilot version and the what if passenger scheme version there as well, with sort of a nod to the J and K classes with the Tuscan red striping, which I think is a nice little piece. It's certainly not the most elaborate fantasy scheme we've done, but that fits in with the Norfolk and Western's profile. Had we done this thing all in bright red or something like that, it just wouldn't have been N&W. So
I like how you label it. What if?
Yeah.
Very cool.
I have a question for you, Ryan.
Sure.
Will these Norfolk and Westerns take two-digit addressing anyway?
Yes, you can still use 2-digit
Okay.
addressing on them if you're using the cab 2 or any of those systems. You can still use your 2-digit address on that, just as you always did.
Yeah, think of it like up to 4-digit addressing. So you can you can give it a 3-digit address if you want it, or a 1-digit, right? So it's
good. Yeah.
Ryan, I've noticed there have been a couple questions even outside of here. One of the ones that probably should be clarified is the extended coal bunker detail variations. I know people have said they don't really understand the difference.
It's a very small detail difference. It's on top of the coal bunker on what I'll call, just in layman's terms, the Class A style tender. So, Ken, if you zoom in on either of the spreads you've got there now, you'll see the different tenders. Actually, if you look at the pilot model, you can see it probably clearest of all because it's not black. But you can see how the top of the tender sort of curves in there a little bit, the coal bunker, and then there's a vertical part that shoots up from that. So you get this. I'll go back into my camera. It sort of curves in and then up. And that vertical part is the extension on the coal bunker. And those came in later in years. I think various reports, 54, 55 time frame on those. And then the version you see there on screen now has one of the earlier tenders, which is more like what you would see behind a Y3 or a Y6 style locomotive. And that was the tender that they were delivered with for the most part, at least. And then all got upgraded eventually to the larger tanks.
Then another detail variation that we've changed in the design since this catalog is the detail on top of the boiler right in front of the cab.
Yes, 1218 got a cover over her steam turret the second year of its excursion, is what we understand. But prior to that and in service, all of the Class A's always had exposed turret details up there. So that has been changed from the drawing. There were a few variations where, based on the road number, we show it with the wrong style of side rods or crossheads. Crosshead guides, we will change those as well to make them correct for the road numbers, thanks to people alerting us to that. So we do listen to those comments when the catalog comes out. It's one of the reasons why we like having things out for pre-order for a little bit of a window before we send these off to the factory to build, so that if there are little things like that we can catch and correct, we can definitely do so before delivery. And that's a great advantage. One other thing I want to point out, because it's an error in the print catalog and it sort of flip-flops on one page of the digital catalog, the minimum radius curve on this is 072. It's not 057. And the main reason for that is we've added a kinematic drawbar to this locomotive, so it gets really nice close coupling between the tender and the cab. In my opinion, some of the nicest we've gotten in a prototype from our factories yet. They're really nice cab spacing there, but it extends out in your curve, so you can still navigate an 072 curve. And also in that drawbar is the force coupler effect, so that you get the automatic increase and decrease in the labor sounds and smoke effects and virtual fuel consumption in the locomotive through the legacy system without having to use the train brake slider, which it's not an easy thing to illustrate in the catalog, but I think it's one of the coolest features that we've added to a locomotive model since I've been with Lionel, just because it's something I don't think anyone else is matching that. That's a really cool effect.
Beautiful.
But definitely 072.
Yeah, 072 for all the variations.
That's
all
a
the
big
variations will be 072.
Okay. All right, and then you got some cars, Vision horse cars.
Vision horse cars. These have been. We've had a lot of comments on these since the catalog came out as well, and a lot of people sort of, I think, never thought about it. I've had a lot of people talk to me and say, I never knew racehorses traveled by rail, and at one point it was actually pretty big business for a lot of the railroads, and these cars were chartered by horse owners to carry their horses from farms and ranches to the various racetracks around the country. In the days before putting them on an airplane was an option, and so these cars did travel nationwide. The Royal Mounted shows in Canada use Canadian National and Canadian Pacific horse cars, and sometimes travel on those into shows in the United States south of the border. So you can add those in. You don't have to be, for example, a Pennsylvania modeler to add a Pennsylvania horse car to your contest. They showed up in California all the time. Santa Fe cars showed up in Delaware and Kentucky. Didn't matter, where you were. The host runner wanted to charter a car, he did. And so they would travel typically in passenger trains. So they were designed like heavyweight baggage cars. And we've done a variety of paint schemes here. They're not based on any one particular railroad's car accurately or exactly, but sort of a composite of typical features that you saw in a lot of horse cars. And we built these on an 18-inch frame. So they're a scale 72-foot car. And that'll make them fit in nicely with whether you have a 21-inch car consist or an 18-inch passenger car consist. These will work great with your train. And operate on 054 curves as well. They have end doors to make loading and unloading of not only horses, but also sometimes stage props and other large loads would go in these. And then when they weren't being used for stables, they could be used as regular baggage cars as well. And Dave and team are taking the electronics that were developed and the code developed for the Vision baggage car, and we'll be installing new sound sets so that you get the various loading and unloading and sounds both stopped and in transit on these. And in addition to the horse cars you see here, just in case we don't run out of time before we get to Christmas, you'll find 2 reindeer cars back in the Christmas section as well, one in Polar Express livery and one for the North Pole Central, because, well, we figured after racing around the globe all night, the poor reindeer needed a ride back north. So this would be a great way for them to meet up and get their free ride home. Dave, anything you want to add on the sounds and future of this?
Yeah, as Ryan said, the code base will be based off of the Vision baggage car that we've done in the past. So one could say that it really is a stable code base. But these will also be having a quilling horse using the legacy remote. So that's one quilling animal we put in the catalog, and the next
quilling
spread
horse.
Another. So.
All right.
We're having some fun with sounds.
Question, Ryan. Did the police department ever use these for the police horses or military or anything?
The Canadian Mounted Police did use them.
Okay.
And anyone that was traveling, you didn't use these for typical livestock. But anything that was, any sort of show livestock type of thing, probably not for the Philly dog show or something like that, but, large stock that you wanted to really groom and take, extreme care of. They would ride in a car like this, primarily horses, but I'm sure other really expensive and careful loads as well.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
And then if you prefer smaller animals to race horses, we've got some Vision stock cars here as well. These will be similar in code to the stock cars we did about 2 years ago, which were cattle cars, single deck cars. Those had cow sound effects and loading and unloading. These will be similar, but we've made this now for the first time a double-decked stock car. And to increase capacity for pigs, sheep, other smaller critters, the railroads put a second deck in these cars and a double hinged door. So you could load twice as many animals on board. And these will come, like the last set of cars have, these will come in a 3-pack. You'll get one car with all the sounds and features, and then 2 other cars with the full details. And like the horse car, this will have a quilling pig. It will have different loading and unloading and car cleaning sequences. And I'm sure you can imagine that we will have a lot of fun with the sounds on these when we get to go into the recording room with Tracy and do these. We only pictured a single car for most of the road names in here just so we could make the images a little bit larger. But like the ones you see there for Santa Fe, we'll be doing all of these in 3-packs.
Yep, and one additional thing that we're doing with these, it states that we have new tooling on the doors, but for the 2 units that do not have electronics in them, we're also adding in that floor inside the car. So if you want to buy little pig figures, you can add them inside the car on both levels.
Very cool.
And like the horse cars, these traveled all over the place too. I just happened to be watching an old video on wheeling in Lake Erie Steam last night or the night before, and right behind the engine there was a Santa Fe double deck stock car with those distinctive yellow doors on it. So they definitely wandered the country. So feel free, if you're not a particular modeler of one of these road names, to get one anyway and add it into the contest.
Beautiful.
You're gonna want to hog those cars all to yourself.
All right. The 210-4s.
210-4. So this is the first of the former MTH tooling locomotives that we have in the catalog. These are being upgraded to Legacy and Bluetooth and all that entails. These will get whistle steam. So you'll have all the features in these that you're accustomed to in a Lionel steam locomotive, including our sound system, the track IR, the wireless drawbar. All those standard features will be standard in this engine. So we'll be doing a lot of modifications to the original MTH tooling, but just a really great prototype to add into our roster. These 210-4s are just spectacular locomotives. We've done 2 prototypical Santa Fe schemes, a fantasy Santa Fe scheme in the black war bonnet, 2 Kansas City Southerns, and a What If Pennsylvania paint scheme. The Pennsylvania leased these quite a bit from the Santa Fe for coal service in Ohio. And so that was the impetus for doing the Pennsy What If variation on that. The 2 road numbers we chose for the Santa Fe paint schemes, by the way, were also used at some point on the Pennsy as well. So Pennsy guys, rejoice. You can have a different style of 210 or 210-4 on your layout without getting in trouble from the railway prototype police.
Very neat.
Also, we'll be putting the 3 different stacks on this like we have with our 3750 class Northern. So you can either have the short stack or the extended stack in there that they like to do on the Santa Fe. So it's another neat little detail that we'll be adding to these models.
And you can see the 2 different stacks there in the top left page.
Mm-hmm. All right, the A1 Berks. This is an engine we haven't done in several years. It'll be the first time we've issued this with Bluetooth and also with the whistle steam effect. So that'll be 2 firsts for this locomotive, and it represents the early production Berks out of Lima for the Boston and Albany and Boston and Maine. These are the Berkshires that gave the Berkshire the name Berkshire. And not quite as nice and refined and well balanced in appearance as some of the later standard committee designs, but to me that's part of their charm. And we've captured a lot of the different details in these locomotives, especially on the front ends with the different feed water heaters and so forth. And then very prototypically, we were able to offer these in a lot of different road names because a good many of them got sold off in later years to other railroads around the country. So Dave, if I don't give him at least one or 2 Southern Pacific engines in a catalog, he gets very sad, and then he doesn't make all the stuff that I want him to. So we did an SP Burke in this one for him with the really cool silver front end and all that.
Very nice.
And one thing to note, like all of our other legacy engines we've done the past couple of years, all these offerings will have the 5 different whistle or horn options, as well as a bell that you can change the pitch on 5 different levels. So, and the bicolor marker lights are a new standard on our legacy steam as well.
Beautiful.
All right, next we've got our Atlantics. We've had a lot of strong sales in the last couple of years on smaller steam locomotives. It's a trend that I've seen over the last couple of years, but it definitely wasn't there when I started with the company and started doing these catalogs. It used to be all the love went to big articulateds and Northerns and things that would just, derail at the thought of an 030 something curve. But over the last couple of years, we've seen sort of a change and a big uptick with our smaller steam engines like these Atlantics that give you literally all the bells and whistles, including whistle steam, of the larger engines, just in a smaller package that has no trouble on an 031 layout and really looks nice with a small train of freight or passenger cars. And so for those looking for, a less expensive legacy option, if you're just getting started in command control and want to test the waters with it, you like a scale engine with all the details and all the features, but simply, you don't have the room or the visual space. You don't like the big overpowering locomotive. These engines are great for a small or medium-sized layout, and still appropriate and look great on a large club layout too, with a respectable train. So I really like these Atlantics. We've got a great assortment of road names and some detail differences in between them. It's more or less a generic locomotive, but we did match it where we could to engines that had similar lines and overall appearances, so that you get the right flavor of the prototype. The Southern in the green really jumps out. The Wabash has a nice little bit of trim on it. The Mopac with the oil tender is really cool. So there's a lot of neat Atlantics here to choose from. We've got some wood passenger cars later in the catalog that will match some of these roads. And we've done some other cars recently. For example, the last catalog had some B&M commuter coaches in it, the wooden coaches. Those would be perfect behind that Boston and Maine 442. Make a perfect Boston commuter train. So a lot of great options here, and perfect for those smaller layouts.
Well, a lot of comments on the Southern. They going for that Southern green.
It really pops.
Mm-hmm.
And then our next former MTH locomotive is the USRA 060. This one's going to require a lot of updates and a lot of this one's a big headache for Dave. I'll just be honest. And we have had a lot of questions on this one, specifically in regards to the tenders, and especially in regards to Strasbourg number 31. We know how passionate the Strasbourg guys are, and want to see that engine done as close to accurate as we can. We are making some new details so that we can do the front end and give it that right Canadian national look. Unfortunately, this engine is so small, but even as small as it is, it's considerably larger than the prototype for 31. So we're really kind of have to sort of do it for a stand-in on this. To do 31 accurately would require not only all new tooling, but also really in all likelihood would be a conventional only locomotive, because there's just no way we would be able to get the electronics in anything smaller. And we'll be using the tender for more electronics in this case than we normally do. So it's not a case of just matching this up with, say, the tender from a different 060 or the A5 040 on the next spread. Dave, anything you want to comment to add to that?
No, these engines will have wired tethers between the engine and tender. Does require a bit more wire than is typical in some of our smaller steam engines that have a wired tether, simply because more of the electronics will be in the tender versus the engine due to the engine's small boiler size. But this still will pack a punch as a legacy engine like any other legacy engine that we create.
Yeah, the tether also helps get you additional electrical pickups on the tender as well as the drive wheels of the locomotive. So all of our switchers, that's been sort of a standard feature for several years now, because we think it gives you better operation at slow speeds, right, which is kind of how you want to run your switch engines. Yep. So we've been doing that there. But aside from the size, this really is a beautifully detailed model. I think a lot of people are going to be very happy with the level of detail on these models when you see them for the first time.
Someone just asked, are you able to use the tenders from the moguls on it?
No, we'll take another look at the design, but I'm pretty confident in saying that there's no way, because the mogul tender won't hold the board, the main board that we would need. But Dave, I should really let you answer that question, but I don't see it happening, and then you can confirm or deny that.
I would go with what Ryan's saying, but it won't hurt for us to take a look next week.
Okay.
I would rather not overpromise and underdeliver on this one, but we will definitely take a look ahead.
And it's amazing. Everybody has Strasbourg fever now. That's like the biggest thing going. Everybody wants Strasbourg. It's like it's a fever.
I get it. I grew up around it. It's it's. I think almost everyone's been there, ridden behind it at least at some point in their life. So it's one we'll all have some sort of personal connection to in some way, shape, or form.
The only prescription is more cowbell.
Well, we did the stock cars, so you can get your cowbell that way.
There we go.
Here's another engine that requires a wired tether as well.
Yeah, we were originally going to do this as a Lion Chief 2.0 locomotive, and then looking at all the design issues in it, I said, you know what, we might as well just go straight up and go full bore and put legacy in it. And so this will have the tether drawbar. There's no room for whistle steam here again either, but you will have the electrocoupler on the front and on the tender. This has a little bit nicer valve gear than some of the other versions we've done in the past, as well as the nicer and more modern electric headlights, the boxy oil lamp. We've got a number of different roads here. Of course, Pennsylvania was the prototype for this, but that U.S. Army, the Bethlehem Steel, for you guys, Long Island, I think that one will be a winner up in your neck of the woods. And these were primarily used around shipyards and ports, so something like this on a Long Island layout would be a real natural.
Very nice. Diesel. Making progress. All
right. First of our new diesels is also former MTH. This is the RS-27. This one is getting a complete makeover and upgrade. This was a Rail King scale item before, and this will now be upgraded with full legacy. So in addition to changing the control systems and adding our smoke and sounds, of course, we'll also be adding some additional separately applied details to this to make the body more in line with the level of detail you expect on all of our other legacy diesels. We've got 2 road numbers each in a variety of paint schemes here, all of which are prototype based, and a good bit of color and variety, particularly for the Midwest and the Northeast. Sort of an interesting and odd bird as diesels go, kind of a transition between the earlier RS series like an RS-11, and also has some of the design features of the coming Century series that would follow these not too long after. So neat locomotives, and one that I think was kind of cool to be able to add in. And once we saw the potential of the engine as an upgraded scale model, I took it away from Megan and her Lion Chief Plus line and kept it for myself in legacy.
Yeah, Ryan, I'm reading historically, it said half of them went to the Pennsylvania Railroad?
Penn Central, yes.
Mm-hmm. It's Penn Central. Okay, it says Pennsylvania in the catalog.
Okay. It may have been. I'm pretty sure these were delivered in the Penn Central era. I'd have to go back and double check that, but I'm pretty sure these were delivered in the Penn Central era.
But this Green Bay and Western, a lot of people commented and emailed us about this. So a lot of interest in that, something different.
I think it's the first Green Bay and Western locomotive we've put in the catalog in,
really,
I don't know how many years. It's not one we get to do a whole lot. So cool. It's nice to introduce some engines like that every now and then.
All right.
And then the SW1, also a cool little switcher. The body from this came from MTH. We'll be putting it, however, on our existing SW, NW, Alco S series drivetrain and chassis, which Dave did extensive design work on a few years back. And anyone who's run any of our switchers, and they've done quite well over the last few years. So I know we've got a lot of happy customers out there. You know what a wonderful engine that is. This has a slightly smaller body, so we'll have to do some rearranging of internal parts on this. But you get fixed pilots, you'll have smoke, you'll have a couple of different detail options on the hood and the cab, and lots of different road name options here.
What's Turtle Creek?
Well, Turtle Creek Railroad is a small short line railroad. It's now no longer in operation. It got flooded out maybe about 10 years ago, but it's on the east side of Pittsburgh.
I like that a lot. Cool color. Sharp green.
Yeah, my favorite feature of favorite feature of these little switchers is that when we did redesign them, we were able to add in the standard legacy speaker. So even though this is a tiny little diesel engine, they come with the full legacy sound set with the full bass you'd expect from a regular legacy engine.
Mm-hmm.
And even though they're a single motor, they have no trouble with slow speeds and tractive effort pulling appropriate sized cuts of cars. So
yeah, they're single motor, but that one motor powers all the wheels.
All wheels, yeah. Mm-hmm. No shortage of road names to come on these. We will not be showing all of the whole list of MTH tooling that we acquired. We have plenty more. These will be as we have the chance to upgrade them to Lionel's legacy standards or Lion Chief standards, whatever they may be, we'll be introducing into the catalog. But you'll be seeing new offerings like that over the next several years as we work our way through the tooling that we've acquired. But we won't go all in right now on telling you all the good news all at once. We'll keep you on the rope for a little while. And ES44s, a lot of great colorful paint schemes on these. A lot of good comments on the Armed Forces one, like we just saw there down in the lower corner. I don't think the catalog does this one justice, especially on a page with so much color on it. But you have this two-tone black, sort of stealthy camouflage. The tinted windows. We wanted our military engines have been very popular the last few catalogs. We wanted to bring it up to date with something a little bit more modern on a modern diesel. And I think Steve Davis, our artist who took this one on, did a really cool job of adding that in there. And there's some neat little details in the graffiti, or not graffiti, in the camouflage and detailing as well here. I think Kilroy appears on here somewhere, tucked into things and stuff like that. So really cool.
That's really a home run.
Yeah, look great pulling all your military trains. We've also got a variety of heritage and veterans units here, from BNSF's anniversary locomotives to Canadian National's different heritage schemes and their veteran schemes. For the BNSF and CN veterans units, there were 2 locomotives or more wearing these numbers, so we did multiple road numbers. For the 4 heritage units, there's only 1 of each. We were making all those available as both powered and non-powered locomotives. So if you want the whole fleet but don't want to drop the full price on all the engines powered, or you just want something nice to sit on a shelf because you're an employee of the EJ&E or something of that nature, you've got a less expensive option for these heritage units. Something we try and be conscious of when we drop a whole lot of these schemes like this all at once, because we know there are people who try and collect them all, but at the price of full units, if you don't need all that actual power, it's nice to have a different option. And non-powered units will be just that. There will be no power, no electronics in there, so that we could keep the cost as low as possible. Powered units have all the normal legacy features. These also have the kinematic pilots, so they look good on 054 curves.
And no non-powered on the Stealth?
No, we did 2 powered units on that, since it's fantasy scheme, and typically for us the powered units do sell much better. And when we offer 2 like that, where there's multiple number options, we always see better sales on a powered than a non-powered.
All right. So the non-powered do not light up at all, like the cab doesn't light?
Correct.
Okay.
It's really meant to be a display piece.
Okay.
Or consist filler. If you want to run a 3 or 4 unit consist, you don't really need. Most of us aren't running trains that require 3 or 4 powered legacy locomotives at the front of them to actually pull that many cars. So it's a great way to help control your current draw on your transformers and still get the neat look of a long lash up of locomotives. All right, our SD40-2s, very similar in features. Again, these are all unique paint schemes, so we did 1 powered and 1 non-powered of the same locomotive for each of these. SD40-2s were everywhere, but we found some of the more unique ones to feature in this release. We've got the prototype for the BN Tiger Stripe, very cool, with the orange nose, as well as their bicentennial unit. Then we've got the veterans unit for the Paducah and Louisville and Indiana. Sort of a Pensy-inspired livery with some great graphics. The Maersk Sealand unit, which was painted by Norfolk Southern around 1999-ish, and lasted in that paint scheme for a while. As a former Conrail unit, that will have the appropriate trucks underneath it, since they didn't use the same style trucks on theirs as the rest. And then we've got the Savage engine and the UP Desert Victory are 2 of the most complicated decoration schemes we've done on any locomotive in a long time. And so these do carry a little bit of a higher price tag because of that. There's just the intense amount of decoration that we'll have to do on these engines is just it's rather intensive. But the Savage unit didn't get a whole lot of press, but it was painted very near us on the AC&W here near Charlotte North Carolina. And as soon as we saw pictures of it, we kind of fell in love and said we got to figure out a way to make that happen. So we talked with our factories and see if they thought they could do the deco, and they said they could. So we added that in there. The Desert Victory unit has not been done since the 1990s. And we wanted to do that again as well, just because one of the coolest looking actual military inspired paint schemes we've ever seen, and a nice tribute to their employees as well. So definitely wanted to see that one back in the catalog as well. We upgraded this tooling about a year or two ago with kinematic pilots. So like our SD40s and SD45s, they'll look better on the sharp curves. And as I mentioned, we have the different truck options underneath here as well now too.
That's great. And someone also made a comment. Is there a reason why you guys use the same road number on the dummy units as well?
Yeah, because these are unique paint schemes.
Okay.
So again, to make them accurate, we use the same road number. These are the only locomotives that wore SD4 that wore these paint schemes. So we could have done a second road number, but it would have been a FUBI number.
Right. Got it. SD90 Max. Wow.
SD90 Max. The ones you see on this page represent the rebuilt SD90s, which are now SD70 ACUs. Canadian Pacific did 5 of these in different paint schemes to honor different branches of the armed services, as well as the Normandy invasion. So really cool. These grew on me more and more as I looked at them. At first I thought, they're pretty simple and kind of plain, but they really did grow on me the more we looked at them and developed the art for them. And now I kind of like all of them. So we've got all of these here in the catalog, again, powered and non-powered. These are a longer locomotive, but they don't have the kinematic pilot, so they will do an 036 curve as well.
The paint schemes are just really nice. Different, unique.
Then we've got 2 of Canadian Pacific's heritage units. And then also south of the border here, we've got the EMD demonstrator. We've got 2 numbers on the patched Norfolk Southern units that they had purchased from Union Pacific and stayed in the patched yellow for quite a few years before they got rebuilt. And then last but not least, we have the San Luis and Rio Grande, big power on a small railroad short line, but a pretty cool paint scheme. So wanted to include those in here as well. All right, our F40s. This was a project that Dave had a lot to do with when we did them the first time around, and we're getting to reuse all that development here on this run. Dave, you want to talk a little bit about some of the features we put in here?
Yeah, this is one of my favorite diesel engines, actually. It's not necessarily a huge diesel engine, but it's packed full of features. In a few pages, we'll go over the matching cabbage cars that are cabbage engines that go with these. And there are specific electronics for those in terms of end-to-end operation, where whichever unit is the forward-facing unit or forward-moving unit is where the sounds will come from, including the horn, the bell, and the dialogue, and other great features such as extensive lighting features that we've had to put into these. We even had to adjust some of our legacy electronics in terms of the outputs for the number of LEDs we can have were actually based on being able to support this engine, which is kind of unique actually. But a lot of these engines support everything from 2 headlights to ditch lights to emergency lights, and you name it, right? Ryan made put a light there. So
and some of them varied by era too. So we did several different lighting packages on these. This release are more of the later and more modern variations of the F40, but some of the earlier versions and ones that were used on different lines had different lighting packages. So we've got multiple options on here as well.
Can you just go over the kinematic pilots?
Absolutely, yeah, it's a great question. The kinematic pilot is designed so that it looks like it's staying straight on a straightaway, and if it's coupled to something, it actually sort of pulls out and away as you go into a curve. so that it sort of stretches almost like a rubber band would stretch out, so that you can get around a tighter curve. But when you come back to straight again, everything pulls back in closer, so you get more prototypical spacing and a better look. It's not quite as good as a fixed pilot, but it's the next best thing. And these do have that feature as well. I saw someone asked if this was former MTH tooling or our tooling. This is our tooling that we cut new. I guess it's been about 5-6 years now, Dave. Can't believe it's been that long. But
2016, I think.
Yeah. So a neat locomotive. Of course, we're kind enough to put Matt Donnelly and a lot of us on together last summer for a great program, Ken, and he helped extensively on all of these as well to make sure we got all of the details right, including, like you see here, the veterans and the Phase 5 powered F40PHs. These never existed in real life. We put them in here to help match the cabbage cars a few pages back, but he helped us to say, okay, we actually did it. We probably would have put the logo here and done things like that. So he's been a great help in making sure we get colors right on everything we do for Amtrak, and all the details as best as possible, or as accurate as we can make them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Speaking of details, these probably are the diesel engine that has the most detail variations that we have. I mean, you can see it even on the page, right? The fuel tanks are swapped with the air cylinders on some of these, and different horns, and just a ton of different detail variations.
Different horns, different roof hatches for the different style fans. There's ditch lights or non-ditch lights. I think almost all the ones we put in this catalog have the ditch lights on. Again, a little bit later variations, but there are quite a few different detail options on these locomotives. We wanted to make sure they were done right. F40s have a unique and very loyal fan base that is quite passionate about these engines. So,
Nick, on the top of the engines, are those strobe lights or just decorations?
Yes, those are strobe lights on the top of the engine.
Okay.
Yeah. Working strobe lights. Yep.
Mm-hmm. And Nicholas is even asking about more Amtrak stuff, like Viewliners, and so some more Amtrak is required. So future wish list.
Definitely on our long-term and future tooling lists as well.
All right. And let's see.
We've got some matching heritage in the Phase 3 paint schemes here, the 21-inch cars, a nice assortment. 4-pack, 2-pack, Station Sounds Diner. We've mixed up some smooth side and some fluted side cars in here to sort of get that, late heritage fleet feel. The inherited but rebuilt equipment that soldiered on for decades with Amtrak. Literally, as we were putting this catalog together, CSX was repainting their business train. So I kept going back and looking for more resources to get the car names and numbers right and paint schemes right. So we've done the CSX business train again here in the new B&O inspired paint scheme. And kudos to CSX, because I think this train and this paint scheme looks so much more sharp than it had in the past. It really is a proud looking train. We've done a couple of heavyweight cars as well as 21-inch cars. The 4-pack includes the generator car, which will have the generator sounds. There's a Station Sounds Diner. The 4-pack also includes the theater car at the end. We won't be putting the camera in it in this set, but all of the other 21-inch passenger car features, standard features, are in there. Really great looking train, and I think this one's going to be really popular.
Very neat.
Also, the ski train, we announced the passenger cars a catalog or two ago. Now we've got the F40PHs to go with it. So just waiting for sort of all the stars to come together here and do these cars up right. So you've got the generator car, you've got the Station Sounds Diner, a 2-pack and a 4-pack here as well.
Yeah, and it's actually a pretty long train, so it's good that you offered 2 road names on the logo.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Very nice.
Road numbers, I mean.
The cabbage.
And these are the cabbages, which goes back to what I was talking about earlier with the electronics. So these engines are dummies, as in they don't have motors, because the real ones did not have motors. That also means they don't have smoke units. But aside from that, they have everything else in terms of legacy electronics. So they will have sound and all the light features, as well as having that unique compatibility with the powered engines so that the sounds come from the unit that is facing forward. And that functionality is carried over not only in the legacy remote, but is also functional with any kind of Bluetooth controller, whether it be a universal remote or an app. And these also, since a lot of them had generators for head-end power or HEP generators, that functionality is available to legacy users with the Cab 2 remote or the Cab 3 app coming up using the aux 3 button. So you can turn on the sound of a generator and turn it on or off. Yeah. And these also have plenty of different detail variations as well, right, Ryan?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, and Ryan, just to go back for one question on a customer, the N&Ws are 072 curves, correct?
Correct. All the Class A's are 072 curves.
Okay, thank you. Specify that for him. All right. Moving along here. F7s.
All right, next we've got some F units. We will never run out of paint schemes to put on F3s, F7s, and F9s. We never will. To go over the feature sets first before we talk about the different decoration options, these are coming in an AA set. Both units will be powered in that set, and both units will have lights and smoke. You'll have rail sounds in the lead unit of the two units only. The second unit won't have sounds. And then there will be two separate sale B units as well for each road name. We pictured one in the catalog. Deco will be the same for both. And the B units will feature one will feature power and smoke, but no sounds. And then the other one has no motors, but it has the super bass sounds in it. So when you add that into everything, you get a real good bassy sound out of all this. The first paint scheme is the Santa Fe yellow bonnets. These came in later in the Santa Fe years around the Amtrak. They were used with Amtrak back and forth. I can't remember. Won't go into all the different details of that arrangement, but they had several engines in this yellow bonnet scheme, but a lot of them were very different. So there are some minor paint detail differences between the two A units, and we've captured them here. The B units as well, a lot of different variations, but we found ones that were similar, and so you have some minor differences, but still have kind of a cohesive look for the full ABBA set if you wanted to go that route. The trucks on all these will be black. It was an error that we didn't catch till the catalog went to print. The B units will have the black truck and fuel tank like the A units, so they'll match. But we did go back and double check that. Someone asked about taking the skirt off. That's something we can't really do just because of the way things attach, but and the way the tooling's designed. But the fuel tanks will be the right color. We also have Lehigh Valley in one of their later paint schemes. Very cool for Eastern roads. Then Sioux Line, Union Pacific, and Southern Pacific. The Sioux Line, I debated a lot on whether to do the as-built or the later paint scheme on this, and finally went with the bold white and red. The Southern Pacific did not have F7s painted in the daylight paint scheme, but Dave, as the Southern Pacific expert, gave me a pass on this one. We wanted nice daylight power for people who have smaller layouts, tighter curves, and maybe you don't want to run PAs and E8s and E9s. You like the smaller power on there. So the Cotton Belt had an FP7 or FP9 in this paint scheme, so we did a what-if daylight version, and I think this paint scheme is kind of like a Santa Fe war bonnet. It looks good on almost everything. And for those with smaller layouts, it makes a believable and nice stand-in for the bigger power.
Yeah, I mean, we did a daylight cab forward, so it's not exactly a stretch to do a daylight F7 or F3.
Right. And I can't believe we hadn't done UP in so long, but I had a lot of people requesting that we bring those back again. So always a strong road name, and glad to have them back in the lineup. Mm-hmm. All right, so this one was kind of a roll the dice and gamble on it, but we thought we'd take a shot, and there've been a lot of positive comments on this. A lot of people really talking about these locomotives. These are the former Norfolk Southern executive train F7s, F9s. Two of them went to the Reading and Northern, and two of them went to the Aberdeen, Carolina, and Western. And yes, that's the color that the AC and W painted them. That's not a made-up fantasy paint scheme. And it's really cool. We thought we'd take a chance just because it was so bright and interesting. We've done running in northern passenger cars in the not too distant past, so we didn't rerun those, but we did run 2 different 2-packs of the cars for the AC and W. They have another one of those eclectic business / excursion trains that has a mixture of prototype styles of cars in there. So we picked some of the tooling we had that was closest to what they run, and made up a mixed train of that. So if you want to have these pooling something interesting, you could definitely do it. It's a really cool looking locomotive and a neat little railroad. They have a lot of beautiful equipment. So just based off of paint scheme alone, I think you'll probably see some more of their stuff in future catalogs.
Yeah. Is this more pinkish or purplish?
It's either a pink purple or a purple pink. It's somewhere in that middle range. These do come as an AB set, and the A unit is powered. The B unit is a super base unit, so you get the best of both worlds here in terms of features.
Yeah. I know a lot of guys are going to say, I want to see it first. It might be too late by then. You know, they may be all gone. Built to order.
Very neat.
All right, start to get into our train sets. I went a little nuts with the train sets this year. Dave tried to rein me back in. So we've got the B&L ore set, which gives you an F7A and B. Then there are 12 ore jennies and a bay window caboose in there.
How do you fit that in one box?
Well, remember the ore cars are small, so it'll be a more compact train than you think.
He can justify it all he wants.
Yeah,
it's still a big train.
Sometimes as an HO guy, I forget that these things are a little bigger. Yeah. But if it's still not big enough for you, you can add the other AB set of units, and then we've got 2 6-packs of ore cars you can add on as well. And those are all uniquely numbered and all different numbers than we've done in the past. So just from this catalog alone, you could put together a 24-car ore train. And you guys know we've done enough of these cars. You could easily do, a 30, 40-car ore train without having to see the same number twice, which for guys who have these big club layouts, that's going to look pretty cool. And the other nice thing, though, with an ore train, the cars are so small, it's almost like 2 to 1 with a regular size train. So even though it looks really big and impressive as a 12-car train, it's not any longer than a normal 5 or 6-car train would be. So it's still actually very manageable for a small layout, but it looks bigger than it is. And that, I think, is why I like them. I think why a lot of model railroaders like ore trains.
Oh, cool. And we're getting some good color names on this train.
Kunkle.
We have sun faded purple, magenta maybe, Pinkle.
Pinkle's my favorite.
Yeah, I like Pinkle.
And we're going to go with Kunkle. I highly encourage people go online and look it up and see pictures of these in real life and to appreciate them. There's nothing else like that out there on the railroad.
Yeah, our color in the catalog is not exaggerated.
Very cool. All right.
And like I said, I like big trains. If the ore train set wasn't good enough for you, this is probably almost certainly the biggest set Lionel has ever put out as a single train. And so we also made it with a la carte options for those who want to do it different ways. This is all prototype based. There's a facility not far from where the Golden Spike was driven out in Promontory, Utah, where these rocket boosters are manufactured. And then they are taken apart in sections, loaded on train cars, and shipped to usually to Florida. I think that sometimes they've gone to Texas as well, but usually across the country to Florida on special trains. And so you'll see these behind Union Pacific, sometimes Kansas City Southern, Norfolk Southern, Florida East Coast. A lot of different railroads handle this train back and forth across the country. You've got in the train 5 flat cars, which have these covered hoods over them. And under each hood is a section or 2 of the rocket. And the way the cars come in the set, all those sections are inside there, along with the loading pieces that hold them all to the car. And you can disassemble them off of the flat cars and build the 30-inch tall rocket booster model that you see there on the corner of the page as a standalone piece. Because of the weight of the cars and the size of the train, they put an idler car in between each of the flat cars as it's traveling. It gives them extra weight distribution for bridges. It also puts more brake shoes and wheels on there to help with braking. And so we've done those cars as well. The first car has 3 clearance rings on it that help clear away anything that might damage the protective coverings. And then the last car in the train is usually a rider car for crews to go along with the rockets, both from the company as well as sometimes you'll see railroad police and other officials on there as well. So they have a rider car that goes with it. So we've done this as a full train. You get the locomotive ES44 powered UP engine, 6 idler cars, 5 flat cars with the loads, and the 21-inch passenger car on the back end if you want to get the whole thing right off the bat. If you want to piece it together and run it with your own locomotives that you already have, we have the rocket cars available as a 5-pack and the idler cars available as a 6-pack. In the 6-pack, you get 6 cars. One of them will have those clearance rings that we're tooling up. The rest of them don't, just like in the real world. You only need those on the first car. And then with the rocket cars, the 6-packs come 5-packs, come 2 different ways. One has the rocket interior pieces and stuff inside. The other is not equipped with anything inside the model. So you get the flat car and the cover, but none of the rocket details or mounting hardware inside. And we did that because it's a big train and it's a lot to bite off. And I think the rocket's one of the coolest parts of the train. But if you're just going to run on your layout and never take it apart and display that piece, or you want to run a train with twice as many cars in it, because sometimes they do run 2 boosters in one consist, you have a slightly less expensive way of getting there. We just gave us a little bit of a lower cost option. The road numbers on the separate sale 5-packs and the separate sale idler cars are different than the cars in the set. So if you're doubling up, you can double up with different road numbers as well. So very cool piece. Some of this is former MTH tooling. A lot of it is ours. And then, of course, some of the things like the rings for the boxcar, that'll be new tooling on our end. If you've got the previous cars from MTH and you never had idler cars to go with it, of course, these will be a great addition for those who may already have some of the rocket cars from past releases done years and years ago. But these should be popular for you as well.
And Ken, what our boss doesn't know, but Ryan and I are actually going to take our sample rockets and put the little ST motors in them and launch them up. So he'll be excited for that.
You got to invite SpaceX down.
Here we go.
That's crazy. Wow, very cool. 30-inch rocket.
These are still in use today. When I was out in 2019 out to Promontory, I drove right past here, took pictures of the cars and things where they're being loaded and whatnot. So it's really cool that you have, that beginning part of America's engineering triumph and right up to today's space program. Pretty much the only things around for thousands of miles in the upper Utah desert, but really, really cool to see all that out there.
Very neat. Hey, Derek, how you doing? All right.
All right. A couple of more modest sets here. The New Hope and Iverland set did so well for us that we wanted to do another Jersey short line here. And we've got the Black River and Western with an SW1, 3 passenger cars. All these are the 18-inch heavyweights with lighted interiors with figures. Like the prototype cars, 2 of them have 4-wheel trucks. 1 of them has 6-wheel trucks. So we match that to the cars they have there on the BR and W. And a neat little short line road that has never gotten enough attention in anyone's catalogs. And then last but not least, I believe in the sets, the high-end sets, we've got Norfolk Southern's 40th anniversary this year. So we did a special set for that with a uniquely designed anniversary locomotive paint scheme. 3 pieces of rolling stock included a lighted flag boxcar and the bay window caboose. The caboose will not have smoke, as we haven't put that in the cabooses for quite some time. That's just an airbrushing effect in the catalog. But otherwise, a very cool set that's sort of a mixture of fantasy anniversary, but with a little bit of a prototype flair with some of the rolling stock as well. All right, we're getting into some of the rolling stock. I know in the interest of time, we'll try and probably rolls through some of this kind of quickly for you
Yeah.
all. But we've got new wood passenger cars. These are in 3 2-packs per road name, baggage coach, combine coach, and coach observation packs. First one's a maintenance of way paint scheme, sort of a generic gray scheme that'll work for almost any railroad you can think of. And these would look great with your wreck cranes or your work train sitting in your yard. That's how a lot of these cars survived. Then we've got the New York Central and Hudson River. Beautiful red paint scheme with some nice filigree and things in the around the details. Encourage you to zoom in as much as you can when you have the catalog digitally to see these paint schemes as close as you can in person. All of these cars are lighted inside with capacitors to remove the flicker, and all have figures in there as well. So really cool paint scheme there. We've got some Southerns in the green, which would look great behind that Atlantic. We've got some beautiful Wabash Blues, also look nice and sharp behind the Atlantic. And then another one that I really like is our chapel car, Evangel. This is based off of a prototype. As the country was expanding, thanks to the railroads, the railroad would stop where they typically set up a small town. The station came first, then came the saloons and other places of ill manner, and somewhere maybe months later, maybe you get some church and up in there. So a lot of folks back in the East would form churches and raise money and build a few of these chapel cars that would travel the country. And if you were on board the train when it was in the consist, you could go back and have your services on the train, or they would park the car at a town for a week or two, do mission work, spread the word, get things established in town, and then move on to the next one. So these were popular from the 1860s into the 1920s and 30s, some of the later steel cars. So really neat piece that anyone could justify on your layout, and a neat story to tell. It's always nice to have something on your layout that people come in and they look at it and you can talk to them about it and teach them something. Gives you a story to tell.
Very nice.
All
And
right,
hoppers to match those big Class A's.
Yeah, we got some hoppers match the Class A's. The Class A's they hauled coal trains, of course. The N&W, anything, every train had coal in it probably at some point. But they weren't specifically a heavy coal hauler. So the Class A is going to look great as a freight engine behind any mixed consist of equipment you want to put there, which is one of the reasons why we didn't do a freight set for it, because almost any freight you can imagine is going to look good behind the Class A. But we did definitely want to do a few hopper cars, including some N&Ws and Virginians, and some of the smaller power companies as well, and utility companies. This just had some neater paint schemes from the 20s and 30s. And then we've got a 2-pack of passenger cars here as well from the Bureau of Mines. And this is something I stumbled on researching a different project. And these were owned by the Department of Interior and were sent around the country to mines for education, training, also disaster relief, inspections. So anywhere you had a coal mine, you could see one of these show up. And since one of the laws of model railroading is your layout has to have a coal mine on it, everyone should be able to justify some of these cars. You never know when you're going to see one on the back of a coal drag going up to one of your mines. Just a neat little piece. New to us, coil cars. These have removable hoods and coils inside, variety of road names here, and we'll be doing them in both traditional clean versions like you see on this spread, and then the next page over, we've got a lot that we've done some graffiti on as well. Our artists really enjoy doing these, and based off of the sales, we were nervous about them at first, but a lot of people really love them. So if you're modeling modern, it's kind of just a fact of life, whether you like it or not, that you're going to see more cars, I think, like this now than not. So we try and do a few things like this in each catalog, and the graffiti's all done up by our art team to give it the right look, and but also make sure there's nothing too crazy on there. We've done the same with our double stack cars as well. This is a die cast car body with 2 removable containers. We did 6 different paint schemes, 1 number clean, and then 1 number on the next page you'll see with graffiti on the well cars. We didn't graffiti up the containers because you don't typically see those with graffiti as much. But the graffiti on the well cars, I think, actually turned out really cool.
Cool.
So
Yeah.
and you get a lot of patching and things like that there as well.
Very cool.
Our flag boxcars, these match some of the engines in this catalog and previous catalogs, and who knows, maybe there's a few of these in here that could be seen in upcoming catalogs. And these have the LED illuminated stars and the American flags. Really neat piece. And then we've got some 50-foot end door boxcars as well. These have opening doors on the end of the boxcar. They could be used for automobiles, small trucks, long pipe loads. That's what the Conoco cars were used for. A lot of them were originally in automobile service in the days before big auto racks. Very cool. We also have a pair of these back in the Christmas section to go along with the reindeer cars as the companion sleigh car, because Santa's sleigh isn't going to tow itself back to the North Pole. So they'd load that through that end door and then send it back north. Really cool paint schemes on those cars, though. So it's worth mentioning them here.
Very cool. Little bobber cabooses.
Bobber cabooses. These are former MTH tooling. A very small car, but I was very impressed with these models. They have a nice weight to them, separate details, illuminated interior with interior details and figures. Really nice caboose, just in small size. And then additional bay window cabooses as well. Just see if you want something matching to go back with some of your veterans or heritage locomotives, you've got something that will pair nicely with those prototypes. Getting into the standard O section, some of these are reappearing from past catalogs. Our standard O cars have less details than the scale cars we've been looking at to this point, but they're designed to be a little bit more economically priced. As you're building a longer freight train, you don't always appreciate all the individual separately applied details as the car is whizzing past you at speed. So you can mix and match these in there in your trains and fill them out for less price. The ore cars there are new road names and road numbers. And these are available in 6-packs. They'll come in a big box with 6 in there, economically packaged that way. So 2 different 6-packs per road name. So again, easy to add 12 numbers and a fairly decent length, respectable looking ore train for your layout.
For the UP ore car packs, are they die cast?
These are plastic.
Okay.
We did look at the set from a few years back though, and I was careful to pick different road numbers than we used on that set. So if you do have that set, these will mesh in nicely with that, and you won't have any duplication.
Okay, awesome.
Again, some standard O cars you've seen in previous catalogs, the center beam flats, RBL cars here. A lot of these are available for us right now. Our last meeting, Ken, you guys were commenting on the pricing on these and the affordability compared to some of the more detailed cars. So call Train World. You can probably pick up a lot of what you see on these last couple of spreads here right now.
A lot of these are in stock. Those TTX boxcars we got on sale. Some really good stuff. And should we, I guess, leave it at the Legacy or keep on going away with a couple of the Lion Chief Plus?
I'm happy to keep going, Ken. If you are, I don't want to keep you and your father too late. I know, especially senior. It's getting close to his bedtime.
Well, we want to be respectful of your time. So if you still got maybe a quick rundown for a Lion Chief, we could.
Yeah, well, let's do a quick rundown. We've talked a lot about Lion Chief 2.0 and Lion Chief Plus in the past. Dave, is there anything you'd like to add? Specifically, now we also spent a half hour at the beginning talking about Base 3, so I don't want to completely reopen that chapter. But Dave, is there anything you'd like to comment on here to sort of refresh people's memory?
Yeah, and especially when you're looking through the catalog at all the non-scale stuff like the Lion Chief Plus 2.0 and the ready-to-run Lion Chief sets, you can keep in mind that all of these can now be operated using the Base 3 and a Legacy controller. So you don't have to limit yourself to just a universal remote or the remote that the ready-to-run sets come with. You can use the higher-end controller now to control everything you see in the catalog.
That's great. All right. And first page, color.
Yes, you guys always tell me you like colorful steam engines.
Yep.
And Megan took that to heart on here. Pacifics are an easy one to do. There's a lot of color available, and these really aren't too much fantasy. All these are based on prototypes that were similar colors. So you've got the Reading and Northern, you've got Lehigh Valley. That locomotive in the Lehigh Valley looked like that for a little while before it was streamlined. So there is a prototype based on that. The B&O President Series engines, and of course the Rio Grande with the green boiler is a really classy looking locomotive. So
really nice paint.
Great color. These are similar to what we've done in the past as Lion Chief Plus, but now upgraded for the first time with the improved LC 2.0 features. As Dave's mentioned, adding in the TMCC, better sounds, just so much more in these as an upgrade over the last releases of these models.
Yeah, and these engines actually turned out higher or better than I expected in terms of just how smooth and their functionality is and how crystal clear the sounds are, and having just a lot more sound features than the Lion Chief Plus line had the last time we ran these.
Very nice. And you got the Hudsons.
We've shown in the past catalog. Again, those are I believe on their way to us still. They may have already delivered. I can't even remember anymore. But similar to the Pacifics in features, GP20s with some new road names there for the first time in LC 2.0. The Doodlebugs are very cool. This is a first for us. It's a one-unit train. Dave, you want to talk a little bit about these because there's some cool features in here, and you've actually spent more time looking at them and working with Megan on these than I have.
Yeah, these are going to be pretty unique. Ryan said these are all new to us tooling, and these are the Lion Chief 2.0 technology, so it does have the smoke and the full sounds and the motor, all the lighting features. One thing that was unique to the Doodlebugs was that they were actually gasoline-powered engines, and we will have the sounds that go with that, so it won't sound like a diesel engine when it's not supposed to. And you got the electric couplers on the front and the rear, so you can, even though it's a one-unit train, you can build the train out more if you want. So I personally think these are going to turn out to be neat little units, and they are Lion Chief Plus 2.0, but they are actually large units. They don't look like they would be, but they're like this big, right, Ryan? I mean, they're pretty long.
Yeah.
So.
Very neat. And actually, when we did the pre-order announcement, Pennsylvania seems to be doing really well, which I'm surprised because between the War Bonnet and the Christmas one, I figured one of those would do well because the paint schemes are so unique. But Pennsylvania comes out the clear winner so far.
A lot of railroads had these, large and small. The Pensy had quite a few of them. There's a few Pensys that are still restored and still operating. The only deco note I do want to make is on the Maryland and Pennsylvania. The road number in there, I think, shows as 51. We'll be changing that to 62 on the final production model. The Ma and Pa had 61 and 62. MTH did 61 in the past, so we'll do 62 this go round for the Ma and Pa fans out there.
That way you have both.
Yeah.
And the P42s.
P42s, we talked about these. Actually, we announced these, Ken, last July with you before they hit any catalogs with the new heritage schemes, anniversary schemes on these. Really beautiful engines. Worked a lot with Amtrak to get these just right. And there's a good chance you're going to see another one coming not too far down the rails.
Really?
So.
Wow, very cool. It'd be very neat. Yep, those have done very well. All the P42s, Amtrak. A lot of people are into Amtrak.
Yep,
really neat.
And I think one of the most asked questions we had back then on that show, Ken, was, "Are you going to do the Am fleets again with it?" And so yes, you finally get to see them here in this catalog. We have it as a set.
Oh, wow.
The set includes the P40 and 3 cars, 2 coaches, and one of the cab cars. And then the next spread, you'll see a variety of paint schemes, the different paint scheme variations on the Amfleet cars as well. So we've got a lot of these available to help fill your needs. These have not been in production for quite some time, so I'm sure there's some pent-up demand for these cars out there in the market.
And some of the units do have the red light on them that will be operating.
Yes, really? For the cab units.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. Neat paint schemes.
Mm-hmm. Another LC2 set uses the S2 turbine and a couple of traditional freight cars. A pretty neat higher featured, ready to run. Well, not quite ready to run. Won't have the track and power, but traditional sized set here. Really, really cool train. These two are in stock. See Train World to order those now.
Yep. Thomas,
always popular. We've got the new girder bridge there for the Thomas holiday. Really neat piece. Some new rolling stock to go along with some of our licensed sets. The walking Brakeman Woody car.
Very cool.
Really neat piece.
Howdy, partner. We're gonna do a quick rundown. I feel like we're missing out with Megan.
Yeah, we need to have Megan and Megan on for this. They can speak to the passion more. The what is that? The Incredibles aquarium car. And then Dave, tell them what you're cooking up for this Monsters Inc. tank car, because that one's pretty cool.
Yeah, that tank car, Ken, is actually going to be pretty unique. We're looking at the red LEDs there on the side will function, and they will actually be sensitive to noise. So the louder the noise is around the car, the more the LEDs will light up. So it'd be kind of like a sound meter. So the more lights, the scarier it is, right?
Very cool. Very cool.
It'll be a very unique piece.
Yep. Lots of fun with the monsters. Looking good. And Frozen, always a great Christmas time set, or all year. John Deere.
Some new John Deere rolling stock to go with the trains we've done recently. These sort of feature some of the Billboard Reefer features some of their period advertising. A really neat piece, and then added the work caboose as well.
Harry Potter, always a great set. Halloween.
We've got some the Halloween set that came just a little late this year, but really popular with that light up boxcar. So I think that'll do well again in its second year. A new to us accessory for Grimm's Repo Depot. This is animated, where the crew walks back and forth between the two buildings. That's it. Another one of those accessories. It's a little bit bigger in person than you expect to see it from the catalog. So take a look at those dimensions and measure out a big spot on your layout. We've got some new billboard packs, a new caboose, and chasing gondola as well to continue to expand on the Halloween themed rolling stock.
Yeah, the great thing about that caboose, just to cover real quick too, is the color changing inside. So the interior illumination will change colors.
Very neat.
We've got more separate sale rolling stock, a doodle bug in the Halloween scheme. Really cool graphics on that. Of course, we'll do fun things with the sounds as well. This has been a growing line for us and a ton of fun. Megan, our project manager, is Halloween is her Christmas, and she just she gives us so many great ideas on these things.
The mint car there, it's kind of the second go at our lenticular approach that we first started doing in the Star Trek set, and this one will be the next version of that, doing the Halloween version where the ghost will appear and then disappear as you turn the angle of the car. It's kind of a neat effect.
Very cool. More Halloween products.
More great accessories, so you can complete the layout. Again, space. Dave, I'm going to let you take it away on this thing, because if there's any product that is underfeatured in this catalog for the size and complexity of the accessory, it's this one.
Yeah, this one, it's hard to really appreciate a large product in a small catalog, but there's been quite a few comments to us on the rocket launcher, and it's been a long time since we did the last version of it. But this one is actually going to be legacy controlled. It will be receiving legacy electronics, so it will have a legacy smoke unit as well as the sounds and control. The gantry will move back and forth, and the mechanism that launches the rocket will be powered and all controllable from a legacy remote, which will be fully compatible with the new Base 3 as well. And for those who might not be as advanced in the command control world, these will still be coming with a separate control box for people to operate the accessory from that way as well. If you want to mount a control box on the side of your layout for the kids to push the buttons instead, this will be included with that. So this is going to be a very feature-rich product, especially when it comes to the sound set that we're creating to go along with it and the special launch sequence that it will have. So excited for this one.
Very neat. Yeah, that's going to be pretty cool for all layouts. I feel like everybody's going to need one.
And it's pretty large. I mean, if you've never seen one, it's a big accessory.
And this is pretty neat.
We have a new Anheuser-Busch set, a little bit more classic looking on the decoration on that, and some really fun add-on rolling stock.
Yeah.
The tank car there, which was done up to look like a beer can. The folks at Budweiser and Anheuser-Busch really loved that car, and I thought that was a good one. And then the reefers, again, sort of a nice nod to the billboard reefers of the past, with some of their older graphics. One of the bottom car commemorates some of their annual Steins, and then of course the Clydesdales on the one on the top. Yeah. The brewery accessory will have the light up Budweiser sign on the roof. A neat piece to add into any layout.
I was watching Megan the other night, and she was telling us the story how her father collects the Steins and grandfather, and it's true. A lot of people collect the Steins. Actually, my grandfather as well collected Steins, and it's a cool tribute. And so I think that was nice how she went into detail on that. More Budweisers.
Yep, some of our previous. I think a lot of these should be available now. So check out Train World's great new website and see what they've got on there. All right, this is the 160th anniversary of the Great Locomotive Chase and Andrews Raid, and we've done similar things in the past, but we've never really done the General and the Texas in what would be accurate period colors. So sort of like we did last year or 2 years ago now, almost 3 years ago now, with the Promontory set. We worked with some great folks and one of the leading historians on the matter of these two locomotives, who I've known for many years. And Steve was kind enough to help us with updated color schemes for these two engines. To give them a completely new look, and that's why you see that really cool candy apple green and the reds and so forth, the Russia iron colored boilers, really cool looking locomotives. So just like the Promontory set we did, you'll get two Lion Chief engines and a universal remote in the packaging there, and then an add-on 3-car set of freight cars for those who may just want to have something fun to pull behind their period rolling stock.
Yeah, and the unique feature of that universal remote is that it will be the same Russia blue that the boilers are made out of. So it'll be a matching universal remote.
Okay, we've got the Lionel line set based on a typical Scout set. One thing to note about this set, it's the only ready-to-run set in the catalog, and the only one we've done to this point that will not have a dedicated remote included with it. This will be driven by the app only, or of course you can use the universal remote if you already have one of those. But we wanted to try one of these out just as a remote, as really promoting more that you can operate these from your phone, as a lot of our first time train operators are already quite comfortable with that and see that as an advantage to this technology and this product.
More starter sets.
So more of our great starter sets with our Lion Chief system.
Many of which are already in stock.
Yep. Pennsylvania, always a classic. This is something new, different.
The full graffiti train. We had a lot of interest in that Union Pacific graffiti locomotive. We tried to catalog a few years back, but couldn't produce due to licensing issues. So we went freelanced and did a whole set this way. And we've had a lot of people request over the years, could you just do a whole train of graffiti? It'd be really cool. So we're giving it a go. And I think this one looks really, really creative and really fun.
Very neat.
Use your Train World credit card to buy it.
Yeah. This is a nice emergency response Lion Chief Bluetooth. Very cool.
That really has a lot of lights and bells and whistles to it. You've got a lot of lights on the rolling stock, sounds in the emergency response car and so forth. We've got the return of the MTH Firehouse. Lots of great animation on that one. You've got the fireman on the pole. You've got lights. The door opens. The fire truck drives out of the building. Really neat accessory. Adds a lot of animation. We'll have this upgraded to the plug expand play, so it's very easy to hook up. We've also updated our tank car accident to be a fire response training car. You've probably seen these at various fire companies and training centers around the country. And we worked with our local fire department here in Harrisburg, North Carolina, just down the road from our office, and sent our creative team there. They did 360-degree photos of the crew and their gear, and talked to them about different things so we could get things done right. And the naming on the tank car is a tribute to the fire chief there in Harrisburg. So that was a really fun project that the team got to work on, and a neat new use of an existing accessory. And those figures will be available separately for sale as well, further back in the catalog.
Very cool. The classic Santa Fe Super Chief.
This one does so well year over year. We've added 2 more add-on cars because those also do well year over year, and people want to keep making that train longer. So we'll keep making the cars.
This is really cool.
Yeah,
Nice graphics.
Some new military cars representing 4 of the branches of service for the Navy, Air Force, Army, and Marines. These could be paired with the Army set on this page or anything.
Yeah, lots of throwbacks. The old Minuteman car, sub cars. So if you're into post-war, it's kind of like that reminisce of what you had when you were young.
Yeah.
Very neat.
Return of the Lionel 44 tonner after a long hiatus.
Was this new product, new tooling? I couldn't even remember when the last time you guys did a 44 tonner.
I think
It's
it was
been a
late
long
90s.
time.
Yeah, I think it was the late 90s.
Mm-hmm. These really, if we were going to be closer to prototype, these are more like an 85-ton switcher. They're not a scale 44 tonner. Right. Some of the road names that you see there are actually based on an 85-ton prototype. Others are more typically for a 44 tonner. It's always been called the 44 tonner in the Lionel catalog. That's why we kept it that way here. So I know there's been some question and confusion over whose 44 tonner it may be, but that's the answering there. And then our Dash 8s. This is former MTH Rail King tooling that will be available. And these straight line chief engines are designed to have the same level of lighting and features as our diesels or steam engines that come in the sets. So a lower price point than the LC Plus and LC 2.0. A fun locomotive gives you everything you need to have fun and get started, but nothing more than that. U36s are back again the same way. Some new trolleys. The one that really jumps out to a lot of people is the Trippy trolley. That will have, like the light that Dave mentioned earlier, that has a color changing LED inside and will also then light down on the track as well. So you have, I guess you would call that track lighting. Just a fun party trolley. I don't remember where the inspiration for that one came from, but I think we had a lot of fun designing it.
There was a picture of one.
Yep.
Similar. Yeah.
Very neat.
As we get into our licensed rolling stock, these things are always pop for year after year. I don't know that we've got anything new on this spread.
In stock.
Always popular. Some of the great Angela Trotta cars, as you know, a huge friend for all of us. 2 new ones in the classic Lionel series with the Blue Comet and the New York Central F3s added in for this catalog. Ford versus Chevy. We can start that argument, and that'll get viewers going here on the
throwbacks.
Program. Some neat throwbacks in here. Yep. And some additional new reefers for Molson Coors as well in the Billboard series, as well as our Wings of Angels sort of military inspired pinup art style boxcars.
Okay.
The Battlefield of Honor, we've got 2 new in our military series, and then 2 patriotic cars here with illuminated fireworks or the American flag lighting up from the back as well. So some fun patriotic pieces to put in your trains.
Very neat.
3 more presidents. We haven't quite run to the end of that series yet, but we've got 3 more coming, as well as some more in our railroad history series. We've got the anniversary of the General Motors Train of Tomorrow. We worked with GM to get some of their official advertising art and things like that for here. And then one honoring the anniversary of the completion of the stone Rockville Bridge on the Pennsylvania Railroad just north of Harrisburg. And we use some modern pictures as well as some pictures thanks to the Railroad Museum of Pennsylvania. Some pictures that usually aren't really published or seen very often of the bridge in its early days in construction there to round out that car.
Personalized boxcars.
Personalized boxcars, that's one you can order through us directly at lionel.com. We personalize and send them to you. We get into our Christmas section. We've got always some new Polar. We've got a Polar trolley, the Polar water tower, freight and passenger sets.
Very neat.
Mentioned those earlier in the program, the Scale Vision reindeer car and sleigh boxcar. They'll blend in nicely with your Polar Express freight or passenger trains. Our traditional Polar Express rolling stock to add one to your consist, always be available in the Lionel catalog. I don't think you have to worry about that disappearing anytime soon.
The speeder is pretty neat. Just came out a couple of months ago.
Yeah, a lot of fun with those little self-powered units. We've got a new aquarium car. This has the train moving through different scenes. One of them has some of the detail on the window as well as behind, so the train sort of appears like it's going behind the trees as you see it in the movie and in the book. Another illuminated boxcar here with the tree all illuminated nicely inside the car.
I think that caboose will do very well.
Yes. We've put a lot of Polar Express freight cars out over the years. Yeah.
That's right. Some more accessories to go with Polar Express. Everybody's needs some accessories for the Polar Express train set, so that's good. And Disney.
Some new add-on rolling stock here as well. Searchlight car, caboose.
Caboose is nice. Very nice. Holiday.
This is our Christmas Express. This is a new Christmas set. Lots of reds and greens, really rich colors. Brought back the snowman on the, I guess you'd call that the catenary maintenance car is what it was originally patterned after, but haven't seen that one in the catalog for a long time. So that's pretty cool. And the Christmas parade aquarium car and chasing gondola.
Very neat.
I'm sure we'll do another Christmas show at some point in the future. It's hard to talk about Christmas in January.
Yeah. These just came out for this year.
Lots of lights and sounds on these.
Could check back on the Christmas Spectacular episode that we did a couple of months ago.
Got a Christmas Doodlebug and a Christmas Pacific added into the lineup here as well.
It's Doodlebug. Between the Halloween and the Christmas, just really cool artwork and something unique, different.
Yes, absolutely. New Angela Trotta aquarium car and billboard sets featuring some of her art.
And that hobby store there on the bottom, that does have the animated layout inside, so the train does go around the layout inside of it.
More Christmas stuff.
More Christmas separate sale rolling stock. Again, the 2 scale pieces there we talked about earlier for your reindeers. And then the music box car for the traditional line, as well as some other various illuminated and animated pieces of traditional rolling stock. The hopper car you see in the upper corner, you may remember the Star Trek dilithium crystal car we did a year or so ago. With the glowing load, this will have a glowing Christmas magic load in it as well. It'll be a very cool piece.
Very nice. And noticed a lot of people already pre-ordering their new Lionel 2022 Christmas boxcar. So make sure you get your pre-order in. Everybody wants one every single year.
Yeah, always the best-selling item in the catalog, and that's a great paint job. Anytime you put Santa Claus on something, it sells.
That's neat.
Is that Ryan in a costume? Is that what that is?
His beard.
It could be. The beard's getting there.
Right.
Close to belly.
We got to dye the beard a little more white. A little more.
Don't worry. Give me another 6 months. It'll be there.
Give it a year, yeah.
Christmas version of the operating accessory there as well for our Deer Dash delivery service.
That's Santa stuck in the chimney.
Santa stuck in the chimney, and
yeah.
Christmas
I
house
didn't
will
notice
have
that.
light up Christmas lights on it as well.
Mm-hmm.
And for those of us who've been naughty, we've got Santa's Coal Company down there also.
Oh, that's funny. Very cool.
Mm-hmm.
Great accessories. All for your Christmas time layout. Ford, Chevy. These just came out maybe a couple of months ago.
Yep.
Great buildings.
Great new releases of our service centers. Some of our military themed accessories, our burning houses, fire trucks, the new firefighter figures. This will be a great, could build a great little scene on anyone's layout with these.
Very cool.
Again, some more new buildings. The graffiti water tower is pretty cool. That'll come with a set of peel and stick decals, so you can graffiti this up as much or as little as you want, and you can customize it for your town as well.
Very cool. Just us bail bonds. That's funny.
A more traditional version of the transfer station accessory, and another great new storefront. The what do we call this? The Holy Cow Donuts and Coffee Shop.
You guys come up with the funniest names. They're really cute.
So much of this comes back to Megan and Megan. They're both truly creative when it comes to their sets and accessories and these fun themes. Some more Western style buildings here as well. Got the sheriff's office, the Western Mercantile, the detective agency. Some wonderful deco on those, and a more traditional style coal mine house as well.
All these, a lot of these are in stock. Tough Guy Jim.
Yeah, a lot of these you'll have in stock. The fireworks building came out not too long ago. That's got a lot of action in it. Dave and his team really had some fun with that one. I think it turned out really cool.
Yeah, the fiber optics make for a neat effect, especially with the lights turned out. And then, of course, it's got a dual smoke unit in it because Ryan just wants smoke and everything.
Smoke is good.
More lights, more smoke, more sound equals more fun. That's the formula in model trains. It's always worked for me.
Accessories, tracks, lots of stuff.
So lots of great, great new add-ons. You can never have too many of these little details and things to add in into your layout. So many of these have been around for many years. We do have a couple of new sign sets here. I think these are the last of the new items in the catalog. But we had some fun. Some of them are more traditional, and then there's a fun little set there of kind of fanciful signs that you could put on your layout that could tie in with any number of the sets we've done, including things like the zombie crossing or the person staring on their cell phone crossing the road. We've got a low flying objects with the flying saucer you could use with some of the Area 51 sets. So you can have some fun with those. And just a great variety of figures as well.
Fast track.
Still the standard for so many, and continue to produce that. And our power and control brings us kind of right back to where we started at the beginning of all this.
Very neat.
Our American Flyer catalog is a separate online catalog. I think we've probably covered enough tonight that you don't want to dive into that one. But please go on there. There's also a video up on our social media where I walk through that catalog as well for those who are interested. There is some fun new stuff in that catalog as well, and some things that we haven't done in quite some time. So pretty proud of the S-Gauge catalog that we put out this year also.
And we rushed through a little bit of the end, but we could be here all night. There's so many new items, new product throughout this catalog. It's just unbelievable.
It really is. I think altogether, it's probably one of the biggest catalogs we've done since I've been with Lionel in terms of page count and product variety.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it also hit us in a year when there's not enough paper to go around. So, as you noticed in the print catalog that you have now, and these have been mailed to our dealers and they've been mailed to direct. So, it's all up to the U.S. Postal Service now on when you'll all be getting yours. But we did only print the first sort of half-ish part of the catalog with all the build to order and scale items. But you can go online to lionel.com to see the full catalog. Excuse me. And Ken, I believe you have a lot of that posted already on your website as well. So
yes.
Yeah, Kenny, can you show the consumer how to see it on our website?
Yep.
Able to do that?
Hold on. But a lot of great stuff. So we appreciate you, both Dave and Ryan, for coming on tonight. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, Ryan, any chance of making a small brochure like you did, like this one?
For any item in particular?
For the Christmas items. This way, when people come in the stores, we have something to hand them on the regular inexpensive stuff.
Sure. I'll definitely take it up with the guys who have the marketing and printing budget and see what options we may have there for you.
Because this was great. When you made this was a great thing. Nice and small. Just got something to hand out.
It's good to have that kind of feedback. And also, nice transition to that. I want to thank everybody who's been sending in comments all night long. It's one of the things we really like to do with this. I know we tried to answer some of them. I know we didn't answer anywhere near as many as y'all would have liked us to. But I know Dave and I have both been sort of watching these scroll by on the side of the screen, and we make mental notes and of everything that you're asking. We don't usually talk about the next catalog or future product. A lot of things have been requested tonight. I think we'll be making you happy at some point in the not too distant future. So that's good to see that our thinking is matching with a lot of what you're thinking. But it's wonderful, and we really appreciate everyone who's taking the time to follow along and watch as we ramble on for 2 hours about what we do. And can't thank both Kens and the entire crew at Train World for everything you all do to put this on. This is not an easy thing. Those guys have been on their feet all day, manning the store and taking orders. And I know Ken Senior, we tease him about being late and staying up and having to get to bed, but he probably hasn't had a chance to have any dinner yet tonight. So appreciate you guys taking all the time to do that and help us make this the best year we possibly can for everybody, not just at Lionel and Train World, but all of our fans and model railroaders around the country and around the world who we'd like to serve.
Yeah, Ken, can you go to the front page and where the catalog section is?
Okay.
How to get to the catalog?
All right. So this is our homepage, and we have all your Lionel products on the first slider for the pre-orders. And over here are all the Lionel items that Dave and Ryan talked about. Here's the Lionel Base 3, and you could so all this is filtered by the new catalog. So these are all the pre-order new items, and you could really break it down whether you want a certain engine style, certain electronics, different kinds of trains, so rolling stock, power supplies. So you could really narrow it down. And what my father likes to do, because he's old school, he likes to still see the catalog. So if you go to model train catalogs at the bottom, you could see all the Lionel catalogs here, and it will link to the Lionel catalog. So you could find the Lionel catalogs on our homepage as well. And we should have a new resource page up. Dave and I were talking before the show. We do have one for what is Lionel Legacy, but we'll probably be expanding that into more of a base 3. So just stay tuned for that. So, but all in all, a great show. Dave, Ryan, we really appreciate you coming on and spending over 2 hours, close to 3 hours. We really appreciate you just, I guess, reviewing this catalog and spending the time. So thank you guys very much. We really do appreciate it. And for all your Lionel products, you could shop online at trainworld.com. We're taking pre-orders right now. Thank you. It's been a long night. We really appreciate everyone. Thank you, and have a great night, everyone.
Yeah, thanks, everybody.
Everybody.
Thank you very much.